All right, welcome everybody to Pharus Global Live at 5, episode number 3. Looks like we are heading in and getting live. Welcome everybody. My name is Brian Hartman. We are live here at Pharus Plaza, 1859 Southeast Port St. Lucie Boulevard. Come by and say hi. We've got coffee, we've got Danish, we've got everything. We've got it all going on over here. And with us tonight, we are privileged and honored to have the master of investment banking, our general manager here at Pharus Group. Everybody give a warm welcome to Mr. Pete Previte.
Hello, Brian. Thanks for having me tonight. Appreciate it.
Glad you could join us. I still think you look like Bill Belichick, but we'll have to get into that.
I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm not sure if being number 3 is good. Couldn't I have been number 1? But maybe you worked out all the bugs.
2 out of 3 ain't bad, or once, twice, 3 times a lady.
There you go.
So tonight we're going to be talking about options business owners have when selling their business. And I'm glad everybody can be here. Make sure if you have any questions for Mr. Pete Previte, you can enter those into the comments and we'll be happy to answer those questions. You could also do us a favor and like our post and share it with other folks. So this way they can enjoy getting to learn more about what Pete does and who Pete is. Again, my name is Brian Hartman. I am the president of Pharus Funding Partners, vice president of Pharus Group. And tonight we're going to learn about Mr. Pete Previte. So Pete, tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got to Florida, and what you're doing these days.
Sure. No, thanks. Well, I've been in Florida for 3 years, from Jersey. I'm a Jersey boy, born and raised in Jersey. Loving Florida, though. It's much better weather here, so it's very enjoyable. Quality of life is great. Been involved in technology, and now got an opportunity to start working with Pharus Group as general manager. So I would say, in a general sense, I'm helping the company across the board, helping with the funding side, the Pharus practice, home mortgage. But the biggest thing that I'm focused on is the investment banking part, where really what we're doing is we're helping companies grow their business and then plan to exit at some point, right? So whether it's a year from now or 10 years from now, we don't care. We just want you to be ready. Make sure your financials are in order, your operations are streamlined, that you're on a nice growth path, and that you're ready when the time comes, whether you want to retire or somebody makes you an offer. We want you to have a good experience and get the highest valuation possible for your business. And I think one thing that a lot of business owners don't realize is you really need to be preparing to sell your business from day one, right? So everything has to be in order. You have to have some plan. And again, your business might only be a few years old. Maybe you're only generating a few $1 million in revenue. But you should always be thinking about, what do I need to do to improve the valuation of my company and make it very attractive for a buyer to come in and acquire the business, right? And there's lots of ways. Go ahead. I'll let you ask your question.
I was just going to say that we just want to get them to get an offer they can't refuse, right?
Right. Absolutely. And the way to do that is when someone looks at the books of the company, they look at the financials, the operations, they look at the team or the HR processes. When they look at the entirety of the business, they say, wow, everything is in order. There's not a lot of X's. They check green check marks on all these aspects of the business that really helps to improve the valuation of the company. And it takes time to get to that point, right? So sometimes we will encounter a business owner that says, okay, I'm at X age and I've been in this business for a long time and I kind of want to spend time with my family. I want to go fishing, play golf, whatever. Doesn't matter. They want to retire. And they're just not, the business isn't ready. And it could take, a year or two to really get things in order to get the highest valuation possible and make it easy for a buyer to come in and make the acquisition, right? Any businesses can be sold. It's just, you're not going to get what you want for it, right? So what we want that business owner to be able to sell at a good, solid number that, meets their needs in retirement. And they could leave a lot of money on the table if they're not ready, if they're not prepared, and they haven't prepared over time. So we prefer to work with companies, I'd say at least 2 years. Ideally, it would be 2 years before an exit or getting started to go to market. We would like to make sure that we have that much time to help them get things in order.
Yeah, it's important to be ahead of the curve. A lot of business owners think that they get an epiphany that they want to sell their business and they could do it tomorrow. And that usually would mean that they're not going to get top dollar because they're not ready, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too, and in Florida, obviously the age bracket's a little bit higher down here. You might have some owners that are a little bit, certainly closer to retirement age. And the one concern that I always have is a business owner who ends up encountering a health issue and the business is not ready, right? So, for example, when you have a solid business, the business owner is doing everything in the business, right? They do sales, marketing, they're doing the books. Maybe it's a thriving business, but they're really involved in everything. And then, unfortunately, there might be some sort of health issue that really affects, or it could affect the value of the business negatively. So one of the things that we try to consult businesses to do is to bring in a management team, right? If possible, bring other people on board to handle all those aspects of the business so that if you went on vacation, if you wanted to walk away, or if something happened health-wise, the business would run without missing a beat. And that's a huge benefit as far as valuation, right? So if a buyer can come in and say, okay, well, the founder and the owner, they can step aside and nothing is missed, that makes a huge difference. And there's a one pager that if anyone contacts us, we can send to them. It's business valuation factors, and it gives you those different areas of focus of how you can improve your business to improve the valuation. And we'd be happy to send that out to everyone.
Awesome. So you've only been down in Florida now for how long?
For just about 3 years. I think it was, maybe 3 years and a couple weeks. And the week that I got down here was the week of the hurricane. I forget the name of that one. Started with an I 3 years ago. And I was it? I don't know. Irma. That's it. It was Irma. Yes, it was Irma. And so I spent the first week putting up hurricane shutters. That was fun.
It's a heck of a way to get used to hurricane season.
But I'll tell you, Florida, I mean, I'm in Port St. Lucie. Florida is fantastic. It definitely is hot and humid in the summertime, but everyone is so active here. There's so much to do. It's a great place to live. So, and now we see with everything going on, a lot of people are coming down to the state. So, it's good for our business. We love to see people coming down here. We're helping businesses grow, creating jobs, and whether you're in your 20s or 30s or you're in your 60s, there's a lot of opportunity here. So we're hoping to see business grow over the next 10 or 20 years here in Florida.
Awesome. So in the short time, 3 years, you built up a pretty good network of centers of influence and people that you know. How did you go about that?
So A couple of ways. One of the first things that happened was I got introduced. You know, coming down to Florida in business, you're new. I'm coming from Jersey. I really don't have a lot of contacts down here, and I say, all right, how do I get plugged into business? And I got introduced to a woman named Jennifer Barrows, who's currently she's the chairperson of the advisory board of an organization called GrowFL. And GrowFL is what they call an economic gardening organization that is helping Florida-based companies grow, either through strategic research. We have a system for integrated growth tied in with Edward Lowe Foundation, where we're helping companies understand their business, recognize growth opportunities, areas that they can grow into, ways to improve the business. So I got connected to Jennifer. I got plugged into that organization, GrowFL. I started to get involved. I went to all of the events that they had, met a lot of people, and that was obviously 3 years ago when you actually had live events. Now everything is a
little bit different.
A little different. I mean, you can still meet people via Zoom, but it is nice. Hopefully next year we'll get back to the live events. But
Right.
But networking that way got me plugged in, and I think what my focus was there was not how could I get clients, but how could I leverage my expertise to just give to entrepreneurs? How could I help you? What kind of information can I give you?
Yep.
How can I give you consultation? Right, that's what GrowFL is all about, and that was a huge boost to me because it got me plugged in right away. And as you know, Pharus Group is very involved with GrowFL and the Edward Lowe Foundation also. And every day, every week, we are just trying to help these entrepreneurs in Florida grow their business. However that is, you know, if it's just some information we can give them, some consultation. If they end up saying, hey, we really like you guys and we need your services, if they hire us, that's great. But everything that we're doing is really on an educational basis. And I'll tell you a quick story of Edward Lowe, right? That foundation was created based on the namesake. Edward Lowe was an
founder of.
Say that again.
What was he the founder of?
So Edward Lowe was the inventor of kitty litter.
It still blows my mind to this day.
Really interesting. Yeah, they have a great foundation. They're located in Michigan, and I believe GrowFL is one of their largest and best partners. That we do a lot of work with them. And what Edward Lowe wanted to do, because of all the struggles that he had as an entrepreneur to get that business off the ground and get it to scale, he set up a foundation to have people help entrepreneurs, right? So help them not make the same mistakes and kind of streamline their process, learn as much as they could to avoid as many mistakes as they could to grow their business. So it's a great story. We love working with that organization. It's really terrific, and tied with GrowFL, it's really it's a great platform for us to be involved in. So another thing that I can recommend is for any second stage business. So that's key. We focus on second stage businesses, and the second stage business is considered a minimum of $750,000 to $1 million in revenue, up to $100 million in revenue. So in that window, and then say 10 employees up to 100 employees. So if you're a second stage business and you are watching this, get in touch with us, because we could get you plugged into to the GrowFL program and see what's available to you to help you grow your business.
And also tell us a little bit about what Florida Makes.
So the other organization that we're involved with is called Florida Makes. Florida Makes is very similar to GrowFL, but they focus on just manufacturing. So Florida Makes is trying to help companies, and actually they could be any size company, but any size manufacturing business grow. And they have business advisors throughout the state, and these people are absolute experts in working with manufacturing, and they can come in, they can do an assessment of the business, and they'll tell you, here's all the things that you can be working on. One of the great things that I talk about related to Florida Makes is that there are grants available, and one of the big areas for grants is workforce development, right? So training programs, whether it's new employees coming in that have to go through training, or existing employees that you want to do continuing training, there are grant dollars available through Florida Makes, through the state, that can be used for workforce development, and that's huge. And there's other things that are available, but that's another program where the assessment through GrowFL is free. So we can arrange for a GrowFL business advisor to come in and do an assessment of the business. It's usually like 1 day process, and then they'll write it up and they'll make recommendations on how you can improve the business areas that might need attention, and it's extremely valuable. So and usually when I talk about GrowFL and Florida Makes, they're phenomenal organizations, but people say, I've never heard of them before. So right. A big challenge that we have as advisory board members is an awareness thing, right? So how do we build awareness? So we want everybody in Florida, every business owner, to be aware of these organizations, and then come in, let us talk to you, and see if we're able to help you.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. All right. Just as a reminder, please, if you have any questions for Pete, pop them in the comments section. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. Go ahead and like the post and share with other folks so they can grab this information. So Pete, I know that you established a MIGS program. I think that's important to let folks know about. So tell us a little bit about that program.
So MIGS, M-I-G-S, is a program that we created at Pharus to help companies kind of get a handle of their business and then plan for that exit, right? And it stands for manage, improve, grow, and sell, right? So what we want you to do is properly manage the business, right? So look at your financials, get your key performance indicators in place, understand what's happening on a day-to-day basis. Look at improving the business, right? So where are there areas of efficiency? Maybe there's some cost savings opportunity there. Maybe there's training available to improve your workforce, right? As we talked about earlier. Right. And then any business, obviously, you really want to be on a growth path. Whether it's 5% a year or 20% a year, you want to have some sort of a sales strategy and growth strategy where you're on a nice growth trajectory, and then ultimately, plan for that exit and sell. The growth aspect is really, really key when it comes to talking to buyers, right? So the value of the company will absolutely be better if last year's numbers were less than this year's, and next year's numbers are going to be higher, revenue and earnings. So we want to see a nice growth path. And that's what a buyer wants to see too, because after all, they're acquiring the business and they want to know that it can continue to grow, after they make the acquisition. The other thing too is if you do have steady growth, it's a little bit easier to value the business, right? And we can value it on that growth based on the percentage of growth. So the higher the growth rate, potentially the higher the valuation of multiple to earnings typically. So that MIGS program, works really well. It's another thing that there's a whole list of items under each of those sections that we can send out to anyone interested, and then we'd be happy to sit and talk with you about how we can execute that program for you.
So you guys can reach out to Pete. His information is at the bottom. You got his email address and phone number direct if you'd like more information about the MIGS program. The big question that everybody is waiting for tonight, Pete, what options do business owners have typically when they're looking to sell a business?
So, I take it for granted. For the last 30 years, I've been involved in mergers and acquisitions, and I've raised capital. So I understand what it means to take on debt, like Pharus funding, right? Borrowing money to grow a business, or take on an equity investor where someone invests in the company and then they get a percentage of it. But I'm amazed that a lot of business owners really don't understand what that means. They're used to just going to their bank and they want to grow and they need some extra cash and they borrow money from the bank. There are lots of options. That's one of them, right? That's one option for growing a business. You want me to talk about selling? Another option is a business owner working with what's called a private equity firm, right? They say a PE firm. So this is a firm that's representing a large portfolio of capital, and they're looking to either make acquisitions or make investments in businesses that have potential to grow. And they will stay on board for some period of time and grow that business for, let's say, 3 to 7 or maybe 10 years. And their goal is to build that business up and sell it for a nice return on the investment that they originally made. That can take a few different forms. One is an investor could make what's called a majority investment in a company. They might acquire 60 or 70 or 80% of the business, and then the business owner stays on board owning 20, 30, 40%. And the business owner works with that equity firm and they work together to continue to grow the business. And then the business owner can actually participate in the sale of that business down the road. So let's say someone's not ready to retire, but they see growth potential in the business, but they would love to take on a partner. They need help in growing it. They find the private equity firm that has some experience in that field, is willing to invest. The owner can actually take some chips off the table and put some money away, and then still stay on board, grow the business, and then participate in upside as that company grows. And in the same fashion, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I would think a lot of business owners don't even think about that aspect of it. All they're thinking about is, I need to sell the whole thing. But reality is, they can stay on board for several years longer, but be able to sock some money away into retirement by giving up a portion of it.
Exactly. It's a great way to diversify, right? So typically, most of the business owners' wealth is located in their business, right? That's where it is. If their business is worth $1 million or 10 million or 20 million, it's most of their wealth is there. So to diversify, just like a stock portfolio, right? So you might have 10% of your portfolio in 10 different stocks, or you're buying mutual funds. So you're diversifying. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. If you own a business, and we've seen with COVID, and it's unfortunate, but some businesses have been affected negatively. If you diversify, right? So instead of owning 100% of it, you could own a majority stake where you only give up 30% and you still own 70, or you can own a minority stake and you could own 30 and the investor owns 70. But you've now diversified. You've taken some money off the table. The business has capital to continue to grow, and you've mitigated some of your risk, right? So you've reduced some of your risk. You put some money away. God forbid something happens. But again, that's a great option. And there's lots of investors or buyers. It could be a private equity firm, which is considered a financial buyer or financial investor. It could be a strategic investor, right? Someone in that industry. It could be a competitor. It could be someone who is in an ancillary part of that industry that wants to add to their portfolio your piece of that business. So you could be financial, could be strategic, and that's what we do, right? So we will look at your business, we'll put together a package to present to prospective investors or buyers, and then we'll identify who those prospective investors and buyers are, review it with the business owner, and then we what they call go to market. we'll go out there and start talking to these investors and get them interested in the business, and then start to have meetings and things like that. So I always recommend that if a business is considering, if they're looking at growing the business, they don't know what to do, I tell the owner, consider taking on an equity partner, look at a strategic acquisition, but at least consider your options, even if you don't feel you're necessarily ready right now. It doesn't hurt to start looking, because if your business is in good shape, something could come in front of you that you didn't expect, and the timing could be right. So we want you to be prepared to do that.
I think you've probably seen it time and time again that some business owners wait too long, right?
Yeah. So I work with some businesses that they were growing for a period of time, and then the sales started to drop off, and they're struggling to get it back on a growth path. So the business has some value still, but it's not going to be where it was when it was doing really well.
Right.
Sometimes a business owner may wait until an age when they're at a certain age where if the buyer wants them to stay on board for a period of time, maybe they can't. So, they're at that age that might be a little bit, too old to stay on board for a period of time. So it limits their options there. Sometimes buyers want to know that the owner is going to stay on board for some period of time. So if you're 58 years old, you've got plenty of time, right? Hopefully to continue running the business and helping grow it. If you're 75 years old, that might be different. So we want you to consider as early as possible to start considering an investment or a sale of the business while you're healthy, while you're young, or as young as you could be. And we want to see business owners that have built successful businesses enjoy their lives, right? Some of them are working until they're in their 70s. And, maybe they could have gotten out a little bit earlier and done some things that they would have liked to do on their bucket list or something like that. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Lots of options.
So, Pete, you work both the buy side and the sell side. Tell us a little bit about what that is and what's the process to go through when speaking to buyers and investors.
Sure. So sell side, when we work on a sell side engagement, what that means is we're working with the business owner to help them sell the business. The buy side is where we're working with investors or large companies that are looking to find companies to acquire, right? So sell side is we want to help that business owner sell the business. On the buy side, we want to help a larger entity acquire or buy businesses. We're working on both, depending on the arrangement that we have, depending on the relationship that we have, who we're working with. But most of the time, it's with a business owner that's built a company. We're working on the sell side, helping them to sell the business. And it was what I described earlier. We want to work with them for some period of time, have Pharus Group, look at their financials, operations, HR, the whole bit, management team. Mm-hmm. One of the things that you do, and you do very well, is, and maybe something you could talk about briefly, is the debt structure, right? So restructuring debt, if they have outstanding loans, that can improve the profitability of the business and the cash flow of the business. That's huge. So we do. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to touch on that a little bit, I think a lot of business owners don't put that into perspective, that for every dollar that we save them by maybe we do a consolidation loan or lower interest rate or show them how to be able to pay off some of the debt, all that money that's being saved goes to the bottom line, which increases the value of the business, right? Yes.
Yeah. Typical multiples of what they call EBITDA, right? Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, is 5 to 10, let's say, depending on the industry. Let's say it's 5 to 10. So if you save $1, that could be $5 to $10 more in value that they would get for the company. So if you could potentially save them $100,000 a year, which we've seen, you and I have worked on deals where that's potential savings, based on refinancing or whatever. That's it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars that could go into the pocket of the seller. So we do all of those things, right, to make sure that they're in the best shape possible. And then, like I said, on the sell side, we are identifying those potential buyers, and we are contacting them, introducing them to usually a 1 or 2 page, what we call a transaction profile, just an overview of the business. We'll gauge interest. If they're interested, then we'll set up calls with the business owner and start having conversations. And then you go to the point where if the buyer is interested, they'll go through a due diligence period, start reviewing some of the financials. And ideally, we want them to get to the point where they're comfortable, create a letter of intent, an LOI, and then the negotiation happens, and then you go from there to potential closing. And usually, a sale could take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. In these times, it could take longer. I've had some transactions delayed because of COVID-19. So it depends on the industry and the types of businesses that are looking to make acquisitions.
So you're not just actually taking a listing and throwing it out there waiting for buyers to come. You're actively aggressively seeking buyers for the.
Yeah. So what we do, it's a little different than a typical business broker, where you've got the local pizza shop for sale and it goes into an MLS and Biz Buy Sell or some of those sites, and they kind of wait until someone searches for it and the buyer inquires. So we actually proactively will go out and find the potential buyers. And because of our sell side and buy side relationships, we have a network of buyers that could match up with someone looking to sell. So we may be able to do that match very quickly. Other times we'll have to do research and look at comparable transactions, who's making acquisitions in that space, and then we could build a list, and then we'll just reach out to them directly. So. But we're very proactive in doing that. We don't want a business to just sit there. We want to make sure that we're going out and having conversations. And, very quickly we can identify who the potential buyers would be and have conversations right up front. And then once you have those conversations, you can see positives and negatives of the business, right? So based on the questions that the potential acquirer is asking, and the responses, some of the concerns they have, right? So what's great about that is it tells you what to address in the business. If they say, well, we're concerned you've got, let's say, concentration risk. You have one client that is 30% of your revenue. Okay, great. So we recognize that. That should be recognized anyway. But if they see that that's a sticking point, then they should do something about it. They might get feedback, hey, you don't really have a management team. Okay, well, I mean, these are things that we would help them with, but having the conversations with potential buyers, really helps them to understand the pros and cons of their business and maybe some things that they need to work on.
Awesome. So for any business owner that is even contemplating selling a business, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them to get started?
I would say prepare early, right? So get some advisors that can help them look at their business, outsiders, right, that have experience with preparing a business, an exit planner, someone that has dealt in this space and has done transactions, so they can recognize what the business owner needs to work on. And like I said, they can get that advisory at no cost through GrowFL, right? So if they go through GrowFL, they can get that process going. And you've done a bunch of engagements with business owners, and it's a great service. But I would say, if you're looking at some point to exit your business, get some outside consultation. In Florida, there's lots of resources that we talked about that are available. Start to have those conversations as quickly as you can and give yourself as much time as possible. Like I said, I would say at least 2 years if you can before you're interested in retiring or selling the business. Start to plan for that. And that gives you time to iron some things out, create some efficiencies, get on a growth trajectory, reduce your costs, address any debt issues that you have. That's a good time frame.
Awesome. Very cool. And so you talked about how you networked, how you built up your network since you've been in Florida, but one thing you left out, raise your hand. Raise your hand.
So
what is this? Tell everybody.
Yes. So this is Brian and I are members at Pickle U in Vero Beach, which is a terrific pickleball club, and at Pocahontas Park there in Vero Beach. So
You've met a lot of people playing pickleball. Tell us what is it?
Yeah. So it's funny. When I was in New Jersey, I just wasn't very active, and I said, when I get to Florida, I'm going to start to be active. So I started to play tennis, and I played at a couple different clubs, joined one club, and a friend of mine there that I met, he said, have you ever played pickleball? And I said, someone mentioned it to me, and I'd like to play. So I started to play, and pickleball it's a combination of tennis, racquetball, badminton, and ping pong, right? So if you look at those four sports, it's played on a court that's smaller than a tennis court.
And they hit a pickle, right? They hit a pickle?
Yeah, the pickle, yeah. No pickles. People wonder, what does it have to do with pickles? But it's played with an oversized, if you want to call it, a large ping pong type paddle with a wiffle ball. A plastic wiffle ball. So, and what I encourage everyone to do is, if you've never heard of pickleball, it's the fastest growing sport in the country. Just go to YouTube, search for pickleball, and you'll see it. You'll see how it's played. And if you want to try it out, certainly where we are on the Treasure Coast, there's tons and tons of pickleball. But for me, I've met hundreds and hundreds of people and have a lot of great friends that play on a regular basis. It's a great sport. People are a lot of fun. The sport is fun. People have fun. It's a good group. They don't take it too seriously. We're out there to have a good time. It's great exercise.
Depends on where you're playing. Some people think it's too serious.
yeah. But it is a lot of fun, and it has allowed me, at least coming into Florida new, allowed me to meet a lot of people very quickly and build a network of friendly faces. So
big variety of ages playing too, right?
That's a great thing to mention is there's teenagers playing, and I play with folks in their 80s, and
they beat you too, right?
They do. They beat me. They have better hand-eye coordination. They're quicker than me. But it's a lot of fun, and I've met people, and most of the people that I play with are probably 40 to 60, but I play with all different ages, and I love it. I just like it. It's fun.
It's like a day out playing golf, right? You get business on the golf course, you can do it on the pickleball course.
No question. Yeah, I mean, especially with real estate. One thing that we didn't mention is I'm wearing my let's see where it is. There it is, Crest Corp logoed shirt. But in Florida, when you are dealing with business transactions, you need to have a real estate license. And I am a broker associate with Crest Corp. And I've met lots of people involved in real estate. We do mostly commercial things, commercial transactions, because we're dealing with businesses. So there's a, manufacturing location. There's, it could be a strip mall, whatever. It's mostly commercial real estate entities that we're dealing with. But yeah, no, I met a lot of people on the pickleball court that are involved in real estate, a lot of business owners, right? So I've worked with some of them and helped them out. And in real estate, you always want people to know that you are licensed. So if they need help in selling, whether it's residential or commercial, that they'll call you. So again, building relationships, letting people know what you do, and having a good time with them is important for business, for building your business. So I'd recommend pickleball for anyone who has a business and they want to network, regardless of what you're doing. You will meet people and they will invite you to play, and you'll start to have a new network of friends quickly.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we appreciate you coming on with us tonight here, Pete. And,
Absolutely.
Everybody, you can reach Pete at his email address and phone number there at the bottom of the screen. Quick shout out to Christina Peterson, who I think is trying to say roll the dice, which we just did. We rolled the dice and we got all the information out there. For anybody that is interested, we are going to be doing Pharus Global live at 5 every Tuesday night. And if you'd like to represent your business, I'm happy to interview you guys. We're happy to have you on. It's all virtual. You can be in your office. You can stop by our office, 1859 Southeast Port St. Lucie Boulevard. We're here and ready to pour some coffee and maybe other things after hours. I didn't say that. And happy to help anyone. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody. So, Pete, thank you again. Any last words? Anything that we might have left out?
No, I would just say I would love to hear some feedback. Contact me for all that info. We'd love to send that to you. And if you want a pickleball lesson, I'd be happy to jump out there and get you on the courts. If you're a beginner, that would be awesome. I'd be happy to introduce you to the sport.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again, Pete. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next Tuesday night. Good night, everybody.